Okay, everybody, we're going to talk about a story almost nobody knows. We're here at Pelican Harbor, 79th Street, Miami. And out here, bloop, bloop, if I don't knock myself down in the water. Let's go out a little farther. Perfect. We're in a perfect place. Right out there is an island. It's called Bird Key. Now you see islands over there too. And on down there's more islands, a bridge. But years ago, years and years ago, this was the only island out here. Bird Key. It's natural. All these other islands, all these bridges, most of that land over there that's out into the bay has been pumped in from the bottom. That island used to be bigger. Back in like 1880, 1890, there was only a handful of families living here on this part of North Biscayne Bay. This was Lemon City, which was before Miami. And there was a hurricane, I think it was 1880s, 1890s, and it washed a lot of that island away. And the wind was from the northwest, and it pushed all the land from the island down southeast, down to Bay Point. And the man that had his property down there all of a sudden found out he had a lot more land than he used to have, and the man that owned this island had a lot less. And this man said, you know what? I own that land that you have in front of your old land because it came from me. They took it to court, then they took it to a higher court. Eventually, that island went to the Supreme Court and they ruled against that man. But it's still owned by a family or a non-governmental group. I think they donated it, or it's like under the auspices of some natural organization where they have it as a bird sanctuary. Every year, the giant not pelicans, not condors, the vultures, the turkey vultures come down from Ohio, Hinckley, Ohio, and they hang out down there, and they fly around in the sky all day long, getting up thermals and looking for dogs that got run over so they can have some food. And also you have a big giant flocks in the wintertime of seagulls that come out, and they swoop down. They go high, and then when they get over the bay, they go straight down like dive bombers, and they skim over like a couple feet off the water. Sometimes when they dive down, they hit the telephone wires and messes them up. But that island went to the Supreme Court. Can you imagine just like a handful of families living here? Back in like 1890 or something, there was a man they found in the wilderness up here in North Miami, a few miles to the north, and he got lost in the woods and died of exposure. Can you imagine that? When you're going over I-95 going north around 125th Street, somebody died from exposure like 100 years ago. Well, more than 100. That over there, you can barely make it out, is the exit. Well, actually there's two exits because it's like a little delta. But there's an exit of the Little River, which is the second river in Miami, or Dade County. You got the Miami River down south, you got the Little River, and then north you got the Oleta River, which also used to be the Snake River. Then it was the Snakehead River earlier than that. But the early settlers, who were used to seeing giant trees and nature and everything, they were amazed. You see that building that's right there where I'm pointing at? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There used to be a mangrove tree, or clump of them, so high it was over 7 stories tall at the mouth there. And you think, well, that's not that interesting. But if you think about it, that means there wasn't any massive giant hurricane that hit this area for a long time, because it would have wiped that out. Also, I used to live right where I'm pointing, right there on the bay. It used to be Banyan Bay. And they have the largest sea grape tree in continental USA right over there. So there hasn't been any really major storms that wiped this area. We had Andrew to the south of us, and we've had some north. And I've been here all my life. We had, Cleo and Donna and so many, but none of them that were massive enough to really wipe everything clean. And so another thing about the little river, that used to be a way that the Indians would travel, and when the white men came later on, they would travel because there weren't any roads. People would travel on the beach, on the path along the shore, or they would go out in the Everglades until they got to a river, and they would come down Miami River, Little River, or their favorite was Alita River down south. The reason being they had waterfall up in the Miami River, and they had really rapid springs coming up from the bottom, like a boil of water that would overturn canoes right around 2nd Avenue, which is also a fascinating area. So most of the Indians, and actually a lot of the early travelers, they like to come out the Alita River. I think also because if you come out, there were nobody to get behind you. Or like you come out here, there could be somebody wanting to kill you down that way or that way, you know. Or if you come out that, you had the big settlement at the mouth of the Miami River, so if you were wanting to be real careful, you'd probably want to come out the Alita River too. So also that little river entrance, during the season when the bait fish come down, they go down that river and there's a dam, they can't go any farther, and when they want to come back, you have a lot of fish like tarpon and jack just keeping them from coming back out. They let them go in, but they don't let them come back out. And that little river gets full, like it's like you go in a little boat and the whole surface for like 4 or 5 blocks is covered with just bait fish on top, silvery. It's just incredible. And you got to see the big tarpon. This is a really good place for tarpon. And at night off the 79th Street Bridge, it's good for snook. So yeah, this is, oh, well, we got another cool thing. When people would leave the Little River, they would go east toward Miami Beach. And Miami Beach at one time was just mangrove island, and alligators and crocodiles. But they had a path through the woods leading into the beach. So for centuries, people would leave the Little River, go all the way across, and then go over to the path to get to the beach where they go north and south. It was like a major causeway right here of early people. And sometimes I would imagine they would stop over at Bird Key and just hang out because there weren't any other islands. So yeah, there's a little channel that runs along offshore here, and it goes around perimeter around the bay, and you got the ICW that goes north and south. But most of that water out there is really super shallow. I would sail my boat as the tide was rising, and I would go all over. But coming home when it got low tide, I had to I had to lean over and lean the boat so we could get back in, go through the shallows. But nobody else would be out there. It'd be during a weekday, I would have all of North Biscayne Bay to myself each time I would go out. It was heaven. It was heaven. You'd always go upwind, and then when you want to come home in the afternoon, late afternoon, you come back with the wind, downwind, and you got the sun setting in the west, and it was just like in the movies. It was beautiful. Go out at nighttime and see little comets and stuff and falling stars, and it was just, it's hard. Miami-Dade County, Broward County, there's millions and millions of people, so it's so nice to have a place you can get out and get away from everything. One day I was with friends. I was with my friend, the neighbor, Jeff, and his wife, and on our little boat, and we went out and we saw a green turtle, we saw sea cow, and we saw dolphins, all in the same trip. This was in the wintertime. In the summertime, it can get kind of nasty. There's not a lot of oxygen sometimes, and I think over there I've smelled sewage, so there's still some sewage pipes somewhere leaking, and nobody knows that I know where they are. I wish we could talk about the Legion that they tore down. That was the second biggest or most biggest American Legion in the whole USA for one time. But it was made in an old Coral Rock building, and I have an affinity for Coral Rock building because I grew up in a Coral Rock house. I'm just yapping away, ain't I? That big building over there, a really rich woman had them put a little channel off the ICW over to her building. Nobody else could do it. Nobody else has done it, only her. And there was the guy who had the mutual fund with Vanguard. What was his name? Oh gosh, he had back in the 90s, the biggest one out. He bought some property over here because he said it was bound to grow, and because everything was coming south from downtown Miami. He wanted to get ahead, and he held on to his property for 20 years with crackheads and junkies and prostitutes, and he gave up finally. Eh, it's starting to catch on, but it's still lagging behind the rest of the county. But yeah, I love Lemon City. That's where I grew up. That's where I'll go over to 61st Street, which is Lemon City Avenue, which is also Martin Luther King Boulevard. There's that little pipe offshore that I have a picture of my dad when he was 10 years old standing on with the corncob pipe in his mouth, and it's still there. And there's also there's an orange tree in somebody's yard that he said he played on when he was a kid, which would have been about 90 years ago. Yeah. If you want to catch fish, I would go after tarpon and snook and jack over there when the bait fish are in. And sometimes close to the bridge you can, the second best fish in here is in the fall and winter getting spotted sea trout. You do popping corks. You go upwind and you turn off your boat motor and you just drift across and watch your popping cork. It's the most relaxing fishing. There is no demand. You just wait for your cork to go down and you just get them. And if they're not too big, they don't have any worms in them, and they're delicious fried with potatoes. So I hope the audio is working on this, because I've been yapping for a long time. So it's been a pleasure to be outside. You people probably didn't realize I went outside, did you? We'll have to do some more Miami stuff. I hope you all like this. It was fun. Take care. See you out there.